Good afternoon, everyone. In the previous class, we have discussed about the different aspects of biodiversity, and in this class, again, we will carry on all the facts. First of all, in the chapter number 15, part 2, there is a question: what is special about tropics? Or you can say, what is the special about the tropical rainforest? Basically, I would like to explain this is the earth, and you can say this is equator of the earth, this is north pole of the earth, and this is south pole of the earth. The solar energy or solar radiations are coming from the sun on the earth, and you can see the tropical area or equator area is highly radiated by solar radiations. On the other hand, a few quantity of solar rays reach to poles, either this is north pole or south pole. So you can see tropics will be highly rich in the species diversity. On the other hand, there is the least biodiversity can be seen in the pole areas, in the north pole and in the south pole. What is the reason behind this? The first reason is solar energy. In the tropics, lot of solar energy is coming from the sun that will help in the photosynthesis, and the productivity will be increased. So if the productivity is high, then there will be abundant food availability to the animals, and it will make the tropics species rich or biodiversity rich. So today we will explain different topics related to biodiversity by using the PPTs. So in this question, what is so special about tropics that might account for their greater biological diversity? As already I have explained, larger areas of tropics can also support larger number of species and also their larger population size. Tropics receive the major part of solar energy, which contributes to great productivity. Thus, food requirement of more number of organisms are satisfied. Ecologists and evolutionary biologists have proposed various hypotheses such as speciation, tropical environments, and solar energy. So we will explain one by one. First is speciation. Unlike temperate regions subjected to frequent glaciations in the past, tropical latitudes have remained relatively undisturbed for millions of years, and thus had a long evolutionary time for species diversification. So in the temperate region, there is a greater climate and weather change can be seen, while in the tropical area it remains same. Second is tropical environments. Unlike temperate ones, are less seasonal, relatively more constant and predictable, promotes niche specialization and lead to greater spatial diversity. The third reason is solar energy. This is more solar energy available in the tropics, which contribute to higher productivity. It indirectly contribute to a greater species diversity. So in the tropical areas, more the solar energy, more will be the productivity, because quantity of photosynthesis is comparatively more. There is again one more question: what is niche specialization? The process by which a species becomes better adapted by natural selection. The process by which a species become better adapted by natural selection to the specific characteristics of a particular habitat. So a figure is given here. You can see this is the bare-breasted warbler feeds in the middle part of the tree. It is adapted to eat the middle part of the plant, while on the other hand you can see the yellow round warbler feeds in the lower part of the tree. It eats in this lower region in the purple area and better adapted, while on the Cape May warbler feeds at the tip of the branches near the top of the tree. So it shows there is a single warbler but it is adapted in different conditions, and it shows the resource partitioning. Next question is, what is ecological Nike? In ecology, a Nike is the match of a species to specific environmental conditions. It describes how an organism or a population responds to the distribution of resources and competitions. So a figure is given here. The ecological Nike describes the functional position of an organism in its environment. It will explain the functional position of the organism. A Nike comprises the habitat in which the organism lives. It will also show the habitat, the organism's activity pattern, the period of time during which is active, and the third is the resources obtained from the habitat. Now we will explain the another aspect, that is species area relationship. It is proposed by Alexander von Humboldt, it, naturalist and geographer from Germany, worked in South American jungles. He observed that within a region, species richness increased with increasing explored area, but only up to a limit. Basically, Humboldt explained the species richness with respect to explored area. If you will increase the area, there will be more species. So the relationship between richness and the area for a wide variety of taxa, such like angiosperms, birds, beasts, freshwater fishes, turns out to be a rectangular hyperbola. If we will draw the figure, it will be in the rectangular hyperbola condition. It is given here. You can see this is species richness on the y-axis and this is area. As we will increase the area, number of species will increase, but this is the certain limit. After a certain limit, species richness will become constant. So this type of graph is known as rectangular hyperbola, this blue graph. This figure is taken from NCERT book, figure number 15.2. So have a look here, species area relationship. The species area relationship or species area curve describes the relationship between the area of habitat or of part of a habitat and the number of species. Basically, it is giving the idea about the number of species and area relationship. The curve is rectangular hyperbola, and on a logarithmic scale, the relationship is a straight line described by the equation log s equals to log c plus z log a, where s is species richness, a is area, z is the slope of the line, and it is also known as regression coefficient, and c equals to y-intercept. So this graph will not arise from the origin. Again, mathematical expression of this rectangular hyperbola is s equals to c multiplied by a to the power z. The curve is rectangular hyperbola on a logarithmic scale. If we apply the logarithmic rules, then it is log s equals to log c, log mn, log c plus log a, and this power comes into the multiply, where s species richness, a area, Z slope of the line coefficient, and C is the intercept. Now, ecologists have discovered that the values of Z lines in the range of 0.1 to 0.2, the slope of line will be less steeper. So, if the value of Z is 0.1 to 0.2, then slope will be less steeper, but there are some exceptions. For example, the plants in Britain, birds in California, and mollusks in New York. For all these examples, slope of regression line is similar if a small area is selected for study. But there is the another one more value. If the species area relationship is comparatively larger, a selected continent, then values of Z lies in the range of 0.6 to 1.2. If the smaller area, Z is equal to 0.1 to 0.2, and if the larger area, such as we have selected whole continent, then its value will be 0.6 to 1.2, and as we will draw the graph, it is comparatively more steeper. Example, frugivorous birds and mammals in the tropics forest in different continent. It shows the value of Z is 1.15. So you can see these two graphs here. The graph Y is less steeper, and it is graph second Q is more steeper. So ecologists have discovered that the values of Z lies in the range of 0.1 to 2. This slope of line will be less steeper. So if the value is less, then steeperness is less. So it shows the lesser Z value and it shows the higher Z value. And if species area relationship is comparatively larger selected like continent, then values of Z lies in the range of 0.6 to 1.2. Slope is more steeper. So example, graph Y less steeper and graph Q more steeper. Again a question, what do steeper slopes mean in this context? So what kind of information is given by this steeperness? What is the role of steeper? In graphical form, steeper slopes means slopes which are closer to vertical axis. If more steeper, this is vertical axis, it is comparatively more closer in comparison of this one. Steeper slope signifies that number of species found increases faster than the area explored in very large area like the entire continents. Next point is importance of species diversity to the ecosystem. Community with more species generally tends to be more stable than those with less species. So the community that has more type of species will be more stable in comparison of the less species rich community. Question, what exactly is stability for a biological community? How will you explain the stability of biological community? The community which can be defined as the ability of a community to define change or rebound from change. The concept for rebounding from change is known as resilience. So, sorry, a stable community should not show too much variation in productivity from year to year. So, if a community is stable, then it is on the peak of the species richness and the productivity will be almost constant. It must be resistant or resilient to occasional disturbances, either the disturbances are natural or man-made. So stable community must be resistant to invasion of your alien species. So if you are introducing the alien species, then this type of community will remain stable. Again a question, stability of community depends on its species richness, right? How did David Tillman show this experiment? Basically, I am explaining here two answers of the same questions. In the very first answer, David Tillman showed that stability of a community depends on its species richness. By using outdoor plots, the outdoor plot which consists of different number of species in each plot, at the end of the observation, he concluded that the plots with low number of species resulted in less variation. So if the number of species are less, then there will be less variation. And the plot with high number of species shows more variation and productivity year to year. Another answer of the same question is stability of community depends on its species richness. It was showed by David Tillman with a plot experiment. He studied two different plot conditions. The first plot was in drought condition when there is the less amount of water is present, so due to lack of rainfall and insufficient nutrients, whereas the second plot with biomass. He compared both the result and came up with the conclusion that the plot of which biomass was added showed greater species richness and it was stable than the drought plot. This figure is of David Tillman. Although we may not understand completely how species richness contribute to the well-being of an ecosystem, we know enough to realize that the rich biodiversity is not only essential for ecosystem health but imperative for the very survival of human race on this planet. And at a time when we are losing species at an alarming pace, one might ask, does it really matter to us if a few species become extinct? What will happen if some species extinct from our planet? Its answer was given by Hinan and her collaborates. She is a female scientist. Hinan found that animals are not only the living beings affected by extinctions. When one or more species of frugivorous island animals goes extinct, plants are greatly affected too. So this is how many plants move between different areas and make sure their little seeds can grow up in a good spot. It means the frugivorous animals are helping in the dispersal of seeds. So if there are no animals left to spread seeds, the plant are at risk of becoming extinct themselves. So a very beautiful figure is given here. You can see there are lot of animals to disperse the seeds. These yellow colored structures are the seeds of the plant and these are dispersing. So before extinction, this is the figure, and largest fruit eating animals lost, then too small to eat largest fruits. Nobody will eat these fruits, then there is the less dispersal. So you can see these are the plants present due to dispersal of the seed, and here this is absent. So after extinction and before extinction. Now the next question is, would Western Ghats ecosystem be less functional if one of its tree frog species is lost forever? We know that Western Ghats are comparatively species rich in comparison of Eastern Ghats. So ecosystem will be less functional as each species plays an important role in the ecosystem. Its explanations are as follows. The functional as well as the structural integrity of the ecosystem is maintained by its species. Then there is a scientist, Paul Ehrlich. He believes that each species has its importance, or you can say important role in its particular ecosystem. The frogs lies on the second tropic level and maintains the insect species by feeding on them. The removal of the frog will ultimately affect the other species on which the frog depends on the species that depends on the frog. This is important question. It is asked many times in the board examination. How is our quality of life affected if, say, instead of 20,000 we have only 15,000 species of ants on earth? It means 5,000 species of ants goes extinct. Then there are different answers. First answer is the reduction in number of species won't directly alter the quality of life, but it would affect the cycle of dependence of organisms, which would start weakening the whole cycle, and as a result the whole world would get depleted, and it might be a keystone species. Then it would actually accelerate the decrease in the rate of species. So endangering the world as explained by rivet-Popper hypothesis by Stanford ecologist Paul Ehrlich. So we will explain a hypothesis later on. Again similar question but the answer is different. How is our quality of life affected if, say, instead of 20,000 we have only 15,000 species of ants on earth? Its answer is first and foremost, ants aerate the soil by burrowing underground, which means oxygen and water can reach plant roots, but more importantly by dragging food and seeds around they accidentally increase the level of nutrients in the soil. So if you remove the ants, there is a great deal of vegetation that would suffer. So this means that herbivores and decomposers would also suffer, which means anything that preys on those animal groups would also suffer. Secondly, ants are surprisingly effective predators, helping to maintain the delicate balance of the nature. So if you remove the ants, some other animal groups would flourish. So evidence for this, it's been observed that areas with some ants have a much richer biodiversity than areas with too few ants. So thanks to their effects on soil. However, areas with too many ants actually have fewer animal groups because their hunting counteracts the positive effects on soil. So this is important. There are two answers. You can give any one of them. Now have a look. Rivet-Popper hypothesis. It was proposed by Paul Ehrlich. He was an ecologist from Stanford University. What is this? There are no direct answer to such naive questions, but we can develop a proper perspective through an analogy. So we will show an analogy with respect to this hypothesis. He compared the ecosystem with airplane. According to Paul Ridge, we can compare the ecosystem with the aeroplane or airplane and species with rivets. You know, this aeroplane is made of different parts and these parts are attached with the help of rivets. You can say in our language nut bolts. So as an airplane has thousands of rivets, so you can see its whole body is attached by using the thousands of rivets or nuts and bolts. So similarly, an ecosystem has also thousands of species. A beautiful figure is given here. You can see the different types of animals, insects, plants. This is the river. So now we will compare this ecosystem with the planet. Airplane has thousands of rivets and ecosystem has thousands of species. As we will remove one by one rivets, then airplane will become weak. Similarly, Same effects can be seen here. So if every passenger traveling in the airplane starts popping a rivet to take home, means if species starts to extinct from ecosystem. One, if passengers are removing one by one a rivet, then airplane will become weak. Initially, some rivets are removed, then it will not affect the flight, proper functioning of the ecosystem. So, if we have removed some rivets, there is no problem with the airplane. Similarly, if some species are extinct from the ecosystem, there will be a no greater change. But over a period of time, it may dangerously affect the airplane. Similarly, loss of large number of species may cause the serious threat to ecosystem. So there is a figure given and you need to find out the relations among all these things. What do you mean by rivets? What do you mean by aeroplane or airplane? We have compared airplane with ecosystem, rivets with species. Popping a rivet. If you are removing a rivet, it means a species to become extinct. Rivet of the wings. This is the key species because in the previous part you can see if you are removing the rivets from its seat and other parts, then there is no danger in the airplane. But if you have removed the rivets of wings, then this airplane will crash. Similarly, in our ecosystem, there are some key species which are responsible for the ecosystem health and flight safety, proper functioning of the ecosystem. So, a question can be asked on this point. Which rivet is removed many may also be critical. Some are key rivets like rivets of wings. Similarly, some key species are important in ecosystem also that may affect the entire ecosystem. Hypothesis for the effect of extinction. So, rivet popper and redundancy. What is rivet popper? Each species is important in its own small way. Lose one like a rivet in a plant and little happens but the ecosystem weakens. Lose several species and at the some point the whole system will fail. Most species are superfluous as only a few are critical to the survival of the ecosystem. So species are like passengers on the plane and even with only a few the plane can still fly. Now there is a different topic given here, loss of biodiversity. So we can see the next point, loss of biodiversity. If any species is added in the ecosystem through speciation, then there may be the chance of species loss too. If you are introducing a new species to the ecosystem, then there may be the loss of one or more species from the ecosystem. So, in the treasury of species on Earth, due to human activities, there is a rapid decline in the biological wealth can be seen. The colonization of tropic Pacific island by humans led the extinction of more than 2000 entire native species of the birds. So it is very scary position. You can see cutting of trees, removing the vegetation from the area. These two figures showing very scary conditions. The IUCN Red List 2004. IUCN, it is held on 3rd IUCN World Conservation Congress, Bangkok on November 17, 2004. And I am introducing some additional facts regarding this, not given in your book. A total of 15,589 species face extinction, reveals the 2004 IUCN Red List of threatened species. 1 in 3 amphibians and almost half of the freshwater turtles are threatened. On the top of the one in 8 birds and one in 4 mammals known to be an jeopardy. So very critical condition is on our earth, or you can say on our planet. Now have a look on the NCERT book figures. The extinction of 784 species including total, the sum is 3784, including 338 vertebrates, 359 invertebrates and 87 plants in the last 500 years. So in the last 500 years, total extinction is about 784 species. Again, recent extinction includes, very important, always CBSE board asked question on this point. Recent extinction includes, there are some animals which are recently extincted from the planet. Dodo, this is the dodo, it is a bird from Mauritius. Quagga, this is zebra-like animal from Africa. Thylacine from Australia, Steelers cow from Russia, and 3 subspecies of tiger extincted from Bali, Java and Caspian. So for your knowledge, these animals are given here. The biological wealth of our planet has been declined rapidly. The IUCN Red List 2004 document the extinction of 784 species including 338 vertebrates, 359 invertebrates, 87 plants. Already explained, and these are the animals. The last 27 years alone have witnessed the disappearance of 27 species. A careful analysis shows that extinction across taxa are not random. Some are grouped in, like amphibians appear to be more vulnerable to extinction. More than 15,500 species worldwide facing the threat of extinction. Some percentage are given here. 12% birds are in endangered, 23% mammals are endangered, 32% amphibians are endangered, 31 gymnosperms are endangered. Endangered means which are facing the availability on planet, they are nearly die. Fossil records show that large-scale loss of species like the one we are witnessing have also happened earlier, even before humans appeared on Earth. Some species already extinct prior to our origin. During the long period, 3 billion years since the origin and diversification of life on Earth, there were 5 episodes of mass extinction of species. We have already faced 5 mass extinction. I will explain in the next part. There is a question, how is the 6th extinction presently in progress different from previous episodes? So the answer is, the difference is in the rates. The current species extinction rates are estimated to be 100 to 1000 times faster than in the pre-human times. So previous 5 mass extinctions were very slow in rate, but in the 6th it is very fast in the losses. Our activities are responsible for the faster rates. Ecologists warn that if the present trends continue, nearly half of all the species on Earth might be wiped out within the next 100 years. So, again, man is becoming the main factor for the extinction of life from Earth. History of mass extinction is given here. This is not the part of your book. It is just to increase your knowledge. So due to natural calamities, a large number of species become extinct, which is called mass extinction. Since the origin, the diversification of life on Earth, there were 5 episodes of mass extinction of the species. The big 5 mass extinctions are as follows. The first, end Ordovician. Basically, Ordovician, Devonian, Permian, Triassic, Cretaceous. These are the periods and eras which were the part of chapter 7, which is removed from your syllabus. So, and Ordovician Silurian extinction, late Devonian extinction, and Permian Triassic extinction, and Triassic Jurassic extinction. In the Jurassic extinction, loss of dinosaurs can be seen, and Cretaceous tertiary extinction. Now there is a impressive figure is given: biodiversity loss. We are currently living a biodiversity crisis, losing species on a daily basis and 100 times quicker than under natural circumstances. Scientists estimate that approximately 150 to 200 species are extinct every 24 hours. This is very dangerous data. And according to a Kew Royal Botanical Gardens, 21% of plants worldwide are in danger of extinction. So you need to remember this. Again, in general, loss of biodiversity in a region may lead to decline in plant production, lowered resistance to environment perturbations such as drought, and increased variability in the certain ecosystem process such as plant productivity, water use, pest and disease cycles. So dear students, we will stay here. I have explained lot of things today to explain all these aspects, and try to understand, learn these things. If you have tomorrow, we will finish this chapter. That will be the end of chapter number 9. So have a nice day. Goodbye.